Yo, what's up, everybody? Excuse the tiredness. My work schedule has went back to 5:30 during the evenings, so 7 to 5:30. I don't have to work tomorrow, and I thought I would use this time right now before I go to sleep to talk about guitar. I was talking with some people one day, not too long ago, about technique, and the discussion came up about how, you know, do you have to be a guitar wizard like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, John Petrucci, Paul Gilbert, all those dudes, to be considered a good musician? Now, technique, you can you can take your technique into the stratosphere. I mean, you could become the fastest guitar player in the world if you wanted to. Now, the time, patience, and practice that it would take to achieve that goal could be astronomical for some people. Like me, I work a 9 to 5 job every day, and I get to do YouTube, on the weekends and stuff. I don't have a whole lot of time to practice and focus on technique. And I'm sure there's probably quite a few people out there like you guys that don't have that time either. I've always been on the school of thought of less is really more. You know, I mean, you don't have to be super technical to be considered an amazing musician. I mean, really, it all comes down to your musicianship, you know? And also, there's more to being a great musician than just technique alone. When you play with other musicians and you treat them with respect, not like you're better than them or the guitar they're using isn't what you're playing on, so, oh man, that guitar is a piece of crap. You treat them with respect. When they have ideas they want you to hear and check out, you watch intently what they're playing and you listen. You listen very closely. Now, to get back on technique again, I'm not a super shred dude, I mean, I can play fast, but most of the time it's pretty sloppy. I'll admit that. I don't care. And I've played with lots of guitar players that aren't anywhere near the level of Satch, Vi, Petrucci. I have never played with someone on the level of JP. I mean, John Petrucci is like, man, he's otherworldly. And I'm sure, he went to Berklee College of Music. And I'm sure their curriculum, whatever they use to help you master your craft, is very intense. Steve Vai's practice regimen when he was coming up was a 10 to 30 hour workout that he did every day. And that is really, really intense. Focusing on scales, chords, finger exercises, and then arpeggios, sweep picking, even like hybrid picking, things like that. I can do sweeping a little bit, I can do some tapping, you know. My alternate picking is really sloppy and I've never really took the time to master that. But you don't have to have all of that to be considered great at guitar. I would like to quote Joe Satriani on something. He said in an interview, "Do you ever wonder why people still know who B.B. King is? When B.B. touched that string and he did his vibrato technique, you could hear it. And you knew that was him. It was unlike anything. And it wasn't super flashy. BB's technique was not very flashy at all. And like John's technique, Joe's technique, it looks like they're barely moving their hands, but there's so many notes coming out. And then Steve Vai, of course, he said, like, technique is to really learn it and really master technique, you have to go deeper than the technique. You sit with a bend, you bend your string, a half step, quarter step, whole step, step and a half, and you do that all over the neck. Pay close attention with your ear. Very intently listen to what you're doing, and you'll do that for hours and try to make something musical out of it. But then, guys like Kirk Hammett, New Metallica's dropped, and Kirk had a solo in the New Metallica song, and everyone immediately, oh, dude, Kirk Hammett's solo freaking sucked. They must have just took the first take and been like, okay, that's the one we're gonna use. Kirk Hammett's never been super flashy. I mean, maybe back in Justice days, Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning days, but he's never been on par with Satch and Petrucci and Steve Vai. Does that not mean that he's a great musician? Kirk is an awesome musician. I mean, he is one of the most respected guitar players in metal. He is. Even though he uses a wah almost constantly. Satriani uses a wah all the time in his stuff, and you don't ever hear anyone bagging on him. Of course, most of us mortals would have no reason to, put down Mr. Satch for stepping on the crybaby every now and then. Steve Vai uses a wah quite a bit. You don't hear anyone bringing him down or coming down on him. John Petrucci uses a wah sometimes, and his wah pedal, which I have right over here, dude, that thing sounds awesome. I've never used a wah like that where you can adjust the frequencies on the inside. But yeah, I've never thought that you have to have an abundance of technique to be considered a great musician. I mean, listen to some of the punk rockers, man, like the guy Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. Listen to the way he plays guitar. Now, is he super shred all the time? No. He rarely ever plays leads. It's more melody based. But his chords, his power chords, listen to it when he plays those chords. Every note in those chords pops out at you. It's like you hear it on the speaker, and then the notes jump out of the speaker into your ear. And then, of course, let's see, who else can we put into this category here? We can't do Paul. Paul's a machine. Paul Gilbert is a machine. It's like he's programmed to just be amazing all the time. Patrick Stump from Fall Out Boy. Old days of Fall Out Boy. Drop D tuning, sometimes standard tuning, and power chords. I mean, that's really all that they need. That's all Billy Joe needs to get his point across. That's all Patrick Stump needs. And then, of course, Tom DeLonge from Blink-182. Never really, ever really hear solos. It's more chord-based, chord progressions. And then there's a melody that goes underneath these chords. And it's like, why can't I play like that? I mean, I can play bar chords, power chords all day long, but it don't sound like that. And Steve Vai said that about Kurt Cobain and Billy Joe Armstrong. He said, would you consider Kurt Cobain a virtuoso guitarist? Arguably, no, you would not. But when you listen to him play, or you see him play, him and Billy Joe Armstrong, it's visceral. And they don't need an abundance of technique to get their point across. You can take your technique as far as you want to take it. And really, for most of us, I'm sure you guys can agree, and if not, that's okay. For most of us, we really learn the techniques that we're going to use the most. You know, guys like Steve Vai, Satriani, John Petrucci, they need an abundance of technique to play the chops demanding stuff that they play. Like John Petrucci, Dream Theater, John Petrucci's solo album, his two solo albums. If you're just starting out and you get to play a lead and you're feeling good about it, and you're like, okay, now I'm gonna jump into this prog metal, progressive metal stuff. I want to learn Dream Theater. As soon as you look at the music or the tabs, you will be instantly intimidated by it. I mean, I was, and I've been playing guitar for 21 years. I opened up a tab book of Dream Theater and looked at it, and I was like, okay, some power chords here. This riff seems pretty cool. Solo, and I was looking at it, and I was like, just kind of stunned. Like, how are you supposed to play all of this? And then I started trying to learn it. And those power chords, and those riffs, and those solos turned out to be a whole hell of a lot harder than I ever expected. I still can't do it, man. I've been practicing that tab book over here on the floor for months. And I can play bits and pieces, but it's like I'll never be able to have the time to sit down and hone my craft enough to be able to play like that. I've never thought that you needed it all to be a great musician. There's plenty of punk rock guitarists that don't ever play leads, rarely ever play leads, that have a legion of fans that follow those guys and learn all they can from them. I learned very quickly through trying to get Dream Theater down, trying to jump into some Paul Gilbert stuff, some Steve Vai songs. You really got to stay in your lane when it comes to the guitar. Whatever you're practicing, even if it is beginner stuff, you need to practice that until you have it 100%. 100% perfect. Clean. Cleanliness. Tidy up those fingers. Watch yourself in a mirror when you're playing the guitar. And look at your hands. And look, when you're playing your passages that you're learning, look at your hands. And make sure it looks good to you, because what you're seeing through that mirror is going to be what other people see when you play that. And it can help you to identify problem issues, that you might be having, or problem things that you may be having with learning particular passages. Like, is your fingers, are you muting strings that you shouldn't be? Are you not muting strings that you should be? Are you playing with the tip of your finger, or are you using the pad of your finger? All this different stuff. You can see it in a mirror, and you can iron it out by watching yourself. And when you're learning your techniques, whatever it may be, legato, sweep picking, tapping. Now, I shouldn't be preaching this, but because I didn't do this, but the first thing you need to do is clear your mind. And don't have any inside distractions, no outside distractions. Turn everything off, turn off the internet, turn off the phone, turn off the brain a little bit, so that you're not thinking about, oh man, did I do all that stuff at work today or at school today? Did I do my homework? Don't be doing any of that. And you sit with your guitar, focus on one technique for an hour a day. And you'll want to practice it slowly. Go slow with it. You can't rip at something immediately. You can't pull up a minor arpeggio. I'm gonna sweep this and just start slamming the pick up and down and moving your fingers, because when you practice something slowly, when it comes to playing lead, what you're doing is you are programming your technique. You're programming your fingers. And then if you try to rip at it really fast, you're going to confuse that, because your brain has to compute to your fingers what you want them to do. And you practice that technique slowly for an hour. Maybe if you get it down pretty good slowly, pick it up a little bit, pick up the speed a little bit, and then come back down. And then they say, I don't know how true this is because it hasn't really worked for me, but I've heard people say that, you practice it for a week or so, and then you kind of don't. And that gives you your brain time to process and remember what you did. And then when you come back to that technique, you're going to be able to perform it better. Supposedly. Now, the Dream Theater, no, that's not the case. I've been practicing that for months, dude, and I'm still at the same place I was when I first started. I don't know, man. There's some source of John Petrucci's power. I'm beginning to think it has to be that beard. I'm growing a beard. See that there? Yeah, dude, I think I might be on to something. I've got the Majesty over here. It's a Sterling, but it's still a Majesty. I've got the JP picks. I got the wah pedal. I get the beard. And I think I'll be about that much closer to playing like JP. Now, don't buy into that, man. It's not the gear. It's really not. I mean, you could have JP's or Satriani's or any of your favorite guitar players' identical setup to what they use. You're still not going to play like them. You might play it like them, but you're not going to sound like them. Because tone is in your fingers. And how your fingers touch the wire, that's what it comes down to. Just remember, when you're practicing your techniques, do it slowly. Try not to get frustrated with it, because it will come. You can't do it for an hour today and then tomorrow be a pro at it. That's just not how it works. If that was how it works, we could all do it immediately. Just practice it for an hour slowly. If you get it down pretty good and you're feeling good about it, pick up your speed a little bit, but don't take it to more than you can handle. Because as you're practicing this stuff, you'll want to be listening very closely with your ear, so that you can hear that all the notes you're hitting and your pick strokes and everything are coming out clean and clear. Because if you don't do that, and you just rip at it and get it to where it sounds good to your ear, but you're not paying attention to your pick hand or your chording hand, you can start to develop bad habits. And bad habits in guitar playing, if you do it for a number of years, can be very difficult to break. And then you'll be playing with someone that is a little more experienced than you, that might be way above your level, and they're going to look at you and be like, okay, man, you want to learn how to do, what this guy's doing? You're going to have to change everything. That happened to me. I was on Facebook. I was in a group on Facebook, and I posted a video on 7-string guitar. I was playing something, going through an arpeggio, and this guy comments. And he told me, he was like, okay, man, you're going to have to change everything about your technique. And I read that, and I was kind of like, damn, this guy must think I really suck. And I kind of got, mad a little bit, I guess you'd say. Because nobody likes to hear, hey, man, you're doing this wrong. But in this particular case, it really helped me. He told me, when you're sweeping, don't go straight down, up and down. You'll want your arm to kind of glide like this. And your pick should always come diagonally through the strings, not straight down. And then, try not to dig in as much with your pick, which I still struggle with that. It's hard for me to pick lightly, with the very tip of the pick because it feels unnatural to me. But he told me, he was like, do like that with your picking hand when you're sweeping. Try not to dig in so much with your pick. And then the ultimate thing was the economy of motion in your fingers for your cording hand. And there is a very simple exercise that you can find online. You place one finger in each fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, on the low E string, and you'll play that 1, 2, 3, 4. Come down a string. Try not to lift your fingers way up off the strings. Just drop them down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat that all the way down and up the neck. When you get down to your highest fret, you come backwards with it. And that will program and improve how closely you can keep your fingers to your strings. And that really helps a lot. It really does. And then your pick. When you're playing fast, when you're picking fast, you'll need to keep your pick as close to the strings as possible. If you hit a note and then bring your pick hand way up here to hit your next note, it's wasted energy and you're going to slow yourself down that way. Keep your pick as close to the strings as possible. Just take your time with your practice, practice your technique slowly, whatever it is you're learning, and it will come. It might not feel like it at first. It might feel like you're fighting an uphill battle, I'm never going to make it to the top. But you will. It's all a matter of time. Like I've said before in some of these chit-chat videos here, the mother of all skill is repetition. Take that technique you're working on and make an exercise out of it. And repeat that exercise every day. And the more time that you put into it, the better you get at it. And it really does feel like an uphill battle sometimes and you're never going to make it. But if you keep practicing it every day, it does pay off. I just wanted to have a little discussion about technique, and some other guitar related stuff before I go to bed. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you like the video and you think it's cool, give me some feedback on it. If you don't like it, let me know why. I'd like to read why, because I am not against constructive criticism. You know what I mean? Because we can all benefit from other guitar players or whatever field that we're in. That's if there's someone better or that knows a way that might help us more, I'm always open to that kind of stuff. Everyone should be. When you're playing with a musician or, whatever you're doing, and someone tells you, hey man, this could make it better. They're not trying to tell you, hey, you suck as a musician. They're just trying to help you to get your technique a little bit tighter if you redo it this way. Now, some guys, they do come off as cocky, arrogant, I'm better than you. Some dudes definitely do. I have been in that situation too, and that get on your nerves. Because those guys are the ones that are like, okay man, if you play this like I play it, you'll be great. And you won't sound like Kirk Hammett. That's what people do that I've had experience with. They like to throw Kirk under the bus. Because for some reason, most people these days think that Kirk is one of the most sloppiest players ever. I think that's part of what makes Kirk great. He doesn't care that he can't execute a certain passage absolutely pristinely perfect. It's all about the fun, the rawness, the energy. Like that solo, when I heard it, I was like, yeah, I've heard him do better, but you instantly know who it is playing it, and it's not faked, or that it's not edited together. Like, they had Kirk play, 4, 5, 6 parts of a solo, and then he picked the best of 3, and that's what he put into the song and he comped it together and learned it. That solo sounded like it was done on the fly, and it sounded like it was live. Not a pristine studio recorded solo. It sounded like a live solo where you're in the moment, you're ramped up, you're sweaty, your fingers might be a little tired out from playing stuff like that all night. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Their new song, I really enjoy it. I think it's awesome. But anyway, back to the topic. Practice everything slowly. Take your time with it. Hold on. Get yourselves one of these, an egg timer. This is like a book at the Dollar Tree. Get you one of these. Set this thing for 5 minutes. That scale you're working on, run that scale all over the place for 5 minutes every day. And it'll really help you to remember it. I mean, once you play that scale enough, you're going to remember those fingerings. And there's no way you won't. The human brain is awesome. And then I will take this, I'll set it for 5 minutes, do a little exercise, and then I'll set it if I don't feel satisfied with how well I did on it, or I didn't do it long enough, I'll set it for another 10 minutes and do it again. And that's the way that I kind of remember some of the stuff I do. So this really helps. This and a metronome. Get you a metronome too and play with the metronome. The metronome will help you guys get timing, how to stay in time. Because when you go into a studio, after you've taken your technique to the levels that you want to take it to, and you're feeling good about yourself, you feel like you learned what you needed to learn, you started writing your songs, and now I want to go record those songs. When you go into a studio and you start to record, they are going to have a metronome that you hear in your ears. And if you practice with a metronome, you will know how to play in time with that metronome. And that helps you to make fewer takes in the studio to get your riff or your solo done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I had a lot of fun talking about this. It's pretty cool. I hope it wasn't just a bunch of useless rambling, because I am kind of half asleep. But I appreciate you guys watching. Give me some feedback. Let me know why you like it or why you don't like it. And keep it metal out there.